everything we try to do is to develop an emotional connection between the person and animals and nature. There's a lot of research that shows it's this idea of connection that's going to lead to this caring attitude in the future. When we develop exhibits, we're trying to find opportunities for people to connect with animals, for them to have an eye-to-eye contact or be able to put their hand on the glass. That really is that awe and wonder that we need in order to continue our mission to have people that can care about and care for wildlife and nature.
In the past 12 months, we were very, very fortunate to open two really fantastic exhibits that I think are cutting edge in terms of animal exhibit design. Another great thing about the Myrie and Bob Pritzker Penguin Cove and having African black-footed penguins at Lincoln Park Zoo is the fact that this is part of a national effort by members of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, where we've all joined together to provide support for what is needed for black-footed penguins actually in their native habitat. The Walter Family Arctic Tundra, it's based on what we call Manitoba standards. So these are standards that were set up by conservationists in Canada for sort of cutting edge what polar bears really need to be healthy and to exhibit all their natural behaviors. It's evolved like everything else at the zoo, and now we have, I think, one of the really, truly great polar bear exhibits in the United States.
This year at Lincoln Park Zoo, we had a really exciting birth, and that was a Francois Langer that was born in February. It's really interesting to see the interactions between the older offspring, the mom, the dad, and the aunts in the group. They all participate in helping to care and carry the new infant. We welcomed a new crowned lemur infant as well, and the group size is now up to 5. The infant's primarily spending time on mom, clinging tightly, but we're already starting to see signs of the new infant moving around more independently, and certainly older brother and sister are very curious.
The Learning Center was really deliberately designed to create a space where it can spark creativity, it can spark innovation. It has collaborative spaces where teens can work with one another, with staff, with scientists, and then together they can create new programs, new events, all sorts of ways to engage their peers with the mission of Lincoln Park Zoo.
We're participating in really exciting, cutting-edge research, which we do in collaboration with the Fisher Center. That commitment extends beyond our zoo gates, and one great example is our partnership with Chimp Haven.
One of the evolutions that's taken place at Lincoln Park with our learning and education programs has been the need to take the programs that we traditionally have done at Lincoln Park Zoo and actually bring them out into the community. We started with one program in Little Village as a sort of a pilot case to see how that might work, and it has been an incredible success.
Little Village is one of the most densely populated neighborhoods in the city of Chicago and has the least amount of green space per capita. Meeting with 60 different organizations and community partners and narrowing that down to just a few that we said, let's work together. A community garden has been a dream of the teachers at Hammond Elementary School for a long time. And in April, we had about 100 neighbors of the school and teachers and students with horticulture staff from the zoo, with learning staff, and together we created a garden based on their dreams. Another real exciting partnership is with the Marshall Square Resource Center. We invited about 300 elementary students to come here, and they observed our chimpanzees and they made drawings of them. And staff from Lincoln Park Zoo and Open Center for the Arts judged the drawings, and they selected the top 4 to be made into sculptures that will grace both Lincoln Park Zoo and then find a permanent home along Marshall Boulevard in Little Village.
I went back to Tanzania in February. The purpose of the trip was twofold. First was to meet with some of the protected area managers in the Serengeti ecosystem, to understand a bit more about the challenges that they're facing in their day-to-day decision-making, and also how we can help as a research institute to use science to provide them the information that they need to make more informed decisions. The second purpose of that trip was in collaboration with the Learning Center. So Dana Murphy came out and we together co-facilitated a workshop with Serengeti National Park. Conservation is complicated. It's not an easy solution. It does involve people, it does involve wildlife, it involves protected areas, politics, and all of that. And I felt people at the zoo really have an appreciation for that. And the idea of working with managers, this idea of co-creation, the idea of answering questions that are really relevant to what decision makers need, I think is a really unique approach and something that inspires me.
People come here on their lunch hour, you see guys in suits running around, you see mothers on lunch breaks, you see exercise people running through the zoo and so forth. I mean, it's a friendly, fun place. You don't have to pay to get in, there's no sort of closed gate, it's very welcoming. It's really open and very accessible. So, I mean, everybody just loves it.
One of the reasons I got into this field, and it may sound cliche, is that it did start back in my childhood. My own personal connection with nature and wildlife, and I did know at an early age that I wanted to continue forward on that into my profession.
For me, it started with growing up in a wonderful zoo, the Bronx Zoo in New York, where my dad was curator of birds for many, many years. When I came to Lincoln Park, I saw it as an incredible challenge to take a very small zoo in the city of Chicago and do something in a very, very grand scale, much like the Bronx Zoo continues to do today.
Growing up in New York City, obviously we didn't have a lot of exposure to wildlife, not like Serengeti, but my godfather was the head veterinarian at the Bronx Zoo for many years. And this, I think, really, although I was probably too young to really realize what that meant, but just an appreciation that careers in wildlife are something real, something accessible.
After a career in the public schools, I found my way to zoos. I visited Lincoln Park Zoo as a kid, and it was really like coming home. I was able to provide these experiences for others that I was able to have in my childhood.
When you see the impact that zoos and aquariums can have on communities, that is so exciting. We always look at Lincoln Park Zoo as potentially being a leader in the zoo and aquarium community. I think you see that in our Urban Wildlife Institute, the Zoo Monitor. A lot of the programs that we do, that we start here at Lincoln Park Zoo, have now been adopted by other zoos and aquariums. That inspires us to do even more and continue that work even further. And I think right now, the inspiration is getting more involved with the Chicago communities and making them aware and connecting them with nature is an incredible opportunity for us. And I think will continue to drive us forward in the years ahead.